Right. Okay, so what you could do, I mean, you could throw in some conditions here, right? So you could assign this, before you join, you could assign the slice to it, right? And then you could say what's the length of it. Because that's going to return you an array of the amount of things that are in it, right? And so then you could say if whatever I call this is greater than 1, then join it by join it by empty space. You know, if then here equals this join it. So like throwing in something that's not really called like I don't know whatever you want to call it, but you see what I mean? Like yeah, it should be slice is going to return a new array starting at this here, starting at this spot, and continuing until it's well, that's the yeah. Yeah, you could just write it for the. You could just write it for that condition.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So we have a checkpoint. Let's do this. We'll get it out of the way. So we'll start the class with a checkpoint. It's for Node.js. Again, it does not count towards your grade or anything. It's just a way for us to see how the class is doing, understanding, and all that good stuff. Okay. So the TAs will slack it out. We'll take as soon as they slack out, we'll do a 15-minute checkpoint, and then we'll start the class today. All right. Node, yes. All right, so the checkpoint is on your class activities channel. We'll take 15 minutes. You guys probably should be able to complete it before, but we'll do 15. Let's see. All right, is anyone still working on it? No one? Wow. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to stop this since nobody is working on it. Anyone got 100%? Don't be shy. No one? 90%? Ah, between 90 and 100, that's nice. Okay. Between 80 and 90? I'm just gonna keep going now. All right, okay. This is a ego boost for me, so I'm gonna just, okay. All right. Below, well, we'll keep it. So, what about above 50%? Above 50%, right? Okay. All right. That gives me good confidence. Either the questions are easy or you guys are really getting it. I'm going to go with you guys are kind of understood the questions. All right. So for today, this is last day of this week, means week 3. So usually what we do, if you remember, we do a small project that kind of combines all the concepts, and that's what we will do today. So before I introduce you to the project, we'll do groups, and this time we'll go with the table groups, like whatever tables you are on, that's okay. Should be between 3 and 4 people, so there are only 2 people who are kind of like lone wolf. So Simone, you have a choice. You can join Raymond and Mian, or you can join Hannah or Irina. Okay, Chris, I guess you're joining them. Join Raymond, and then we'll start the project. You can, yeah, you can go over there right now. Okay. So this is if you guys open up exercise number 11. I'll quickly go over the project. So in this project, we are combining Node.js, process argv, basically command line arguments. We are joining our Axios package. We'll be making some HTTP calls. And then we are also combining, well, it doesn't say enquader, but it's up to you guys. You can use enquader or not. And then we are combining our constructor and classes, all those concepts over here. Okay, so the way this application works is if you see on the top it says node CLI space show and then a name of a show. Okay, so this should tell you that there's a the main file is called cli.js, right? That's why it says node CLI. Again, you can name it anything you want, but the point it's called CLI is it's basically saying it's a command line interface that you guys are creating, and what it does is it has 2 options: show and actor, right? Actor over here. So you see at the bottom it says actor, and then on the top it says show. So basically, your application is looking for 2 inputs: show and actor. If it's a show and whatever is typed after show is going to go ahead using Axios, it's going to go ahead and pull some information about the show and show this information. If it is an actor and then the name of the actor, it's going to go ahead again using Axios and pull some information about the actor, which shows at the bottom over. Okay, so it searches for an actor. Okay, now all the instructions that where you are going to get that information, we are going to be using TV Maze API, and I think it's somewhere in the instruction. I'll post the API as well. It's not a big deal, but that's what you're doing. Okay, before we even go to that, we are going to architect it. We're going to draw some diagrams and make sure we understand how this app is working as a group, and then we'll proceed to writing some code. Okay. All right. Again, one more time. So you're creating an app which basically has 2 options: show and actor. If it's a show, it's going to search some information. It's going to go over to an API, get the data about the show. If I say actor, it goes ahead and pulls some information about that actor. Okay. Now this is a very basic app because it's using process argv, right? There's no inquirer. There's nothing of that sort. All right. If you want to get fancy, it's your project, you can use Inquirer, but still we need to achieve the basic functionality. That the functionality of the app is it's searching for 2 things: show and an actor. Okay, so We are using Axios, of course, and then I'll post the API details. Okay. Now the first task is, all right, any questions before we proceed? Does everybody understand the concept, what we are trying to do? Okay. All right, the first thing you're going to do is we are going to create some architecture diagram, work with your group and come up like, so how many modules are there going to be? Like you're going to create just one main.js and everything is going to be over there. No, that's the straightforward answer. So I want you guys to kind of discuss and see classes, more than one classes, basically constructor functions, what that class is going to have, how many modules there you think are going to be. Maybe just like draw a diagram using boxes and show how the classes or how the modules are kind of interacting with each other. Okay. The bonus part was, it's not really bonus, but what happens is once you get this information, you're going to write it to a log file as well. And let's see where it is. Yeah, the last one. Remember, this application also prints the log data to a file named log.txt. So anything the user is searching, all this information that you see on the screen is going to be logged to a file. So this means we are going to make use of our FS module, the file stream one as well. So anything that somebody searches and all the information that shows up, we're going to take this and write it to a file as well. Okay? So we are using Axios, we are using our FS module, we are using constructors and classes as well. Okay, so let's take like 10-15 minutes, discuss among your team. And then I'm going to be looking for some teams to kind of tell me what kind of architecture you came up with, like what would be your modules, how those would be interacting before you start writing code. Okay, any questions? Are we good to start? What's the diagram? Yeah. Right, so you're going to tell me what the diagram is. Right, so you're going to read the instructions, kind of understand this, and then tell me what modules you are thinking. Is it just going to be one, which I said no? So what are your modules going to look like? What are they called? How they're going to interact with each other? Are your modules going to have functions? Right, what kind of functions would they have? Class, no class, something like that. Okay, and then before we proceed to coding part, I'll kind of show you what I have, and if that kind of looks good and aligns with your concept, you can go ahead and kind of follow the same strategy. Okay, so right now, no coding, 10-15 minutes, kind of see how you're going to kind of work on this. And this is activity number 11. All right. Let's come back quickly, have a discussion so that you guys can go ahead and start coding. Again, we are just looking to make sure that we understand how you guys are going to divide up the modules and how each one would be interacting. So let's see, what do you guys have? Anybody wants to share? Yes. Okay. So main, TV, and actor two files. Okay. So main is talking to TV and actor, right? And this file is writing to the TXT file. We also have that log TXT. So any data that you get from Axios, the one that you're showing on the screen, on the terminal, you're writing that data to the log TXT. Why? Right. Why is because that's what the instructions are. Again, that's the simple answer. The thing is, because we're trying to group all the concepts together, and that's right. So we're trying to use Axios, we're trying to use our classes, and we are also trying to use our assessment. That's right. Okay. Right. So both are going to be writing. So your main file is going to determine if it's a show, if it's a TV and actor. These are classes. Okay. All right, that's good. Thank you. Anybody else? Who else? Miru, what do you guys have? Or Elise or Kale? Is it kind of similar, or you guys are kind of going in a different direction? Or you guys don't have a file, you're just going to write it out? Okay. 3 files in that fashion. Okay. Sarah? Okay. So when they are talking about 3 different files, basically they are saying this would be 3 different classes. Well, 2 different classes. And this would be the main JS, which is calling these 2 classes. Or constructor functions, up to you. You don't have to use what? Both. What is both? What do you mean both? So you can use either class or constructor function. You cannot kind of, so if you're using the class, the constructor kind of comes into it. But what Sarah is asking that where are we using classes? By classes or constructor functions, right? What I mean is that they have 2 different files. So this would be a class and this would be a class, and they both will be called by the main JS. That's what these guys are suggesting. More work? So, right. Yes, definitely. If you are going in that direction, the size of the project is small, and I can see you can write the whole thing in one file. Yes, you can. No, but don't write it in one file. I want you guys to modularize it, and that kind of defeats the purpose from what 2 weeks we have done. Yes, you can write the same code in one file. It'll be like 100 line of code or something, but I want you guys to modularize it, and that's why this is. So that's one direction. Anybody else kind of similar? What about you guys, Chris, Saul, Kelly? Pretty much. So everybody has the three files. Nobody else came up with a different. Michael. So the question is, log.txt would be a separate file.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it means like a line, but I just mean instead of it
Yeah, you can do that too. That's what I'm asking. What are the different options?
Yeah.
So you are saying main writes everything to log.txt,
Yeah.
and TV and actor doesn't have any information about that. So these two would be returning the data to main.
Yeah.
Main has to go and write it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that. Again, there are different ways you can do the same thing. But if you want to keep the functionality of log.txt over there, you can do it over there. But you'll have to kind of determine that where this information is coming from. Like you'll have to return something back over here, all of the data, and then write it over here. That's what we do. So instead of, because at this point you all have the data of TV and actor, right? So what Kelly was saying that since you already have the information over here, they're just going to write it out over there. Your suggestion, which is also fine, but you are saying I have the data over here, but I'm going to pass this data back over here, and then this is going to do it right away. That's totally different. So you have to make sure how do you return that data. You see that? The file already has the data, which is also okay, but you want to return it now, so you'll have to kind of figure that out. How do you return the data and then write it over? Okay. Any other suggestions? What is it? The JSON program. What is it? JSON program files. I'm missing. Oh yeah. You will need that. Well, you need that for Axios. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So I would highly recommend so that you create a package JSON as well. Okay. So let me show you what. There's a different. It's kind of close, but let me quickly show you if you guys like a different suggestion. So in this case, what you will see is there are two modules. One is the CLI, which is your main, and then the second module is called TV. Okay, so instead of differentiating between TV and actor, in this case there's one module called TV, which is one class, and this class has two functions which are called find, show, and find actor. Okay, so one class, two functions, and your CLI is, or your main file is determining if it's an actor, it's going to call the find actor method from this class. If it is show, it's going to call show find show method of the TV class. So we have two modules, CLI or main, and the second one is called TV, which is a class which has two functions. Okay? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So these two methods, this is where you're going to do the API call. So you do an API call for the show, an API call for the actor. Okay? Or if you're going with this original, what you guys have, that's also fine. There are two modules. We'll be making API call over here and over here, and then communicate back to Node.js. Okay? Any questions? Ethan, did you have anything? Oh. Okay. So we are using TV Maze API. Let's see. Let's see. TV Maze API. Okay, let me go ahead and slide this out. So you are using this, and from this you are just doing take a look at it. Maybe the shows and people. These two might be enough for this program. Mm, let's see if that's what I have here. Um, show single search. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so you can take a look at, I'll slide this out. I think from this, you can use a show single search one because you're just searching one show at a time. So this will guarantee that it will return just one show. Kind of similar with a actors. Let's see what actors. Show, search, people, main information. This is ID, ID. Let's see. I don't see the people search one. Then when you find, let me select the main one out first so that you guys can start your research. So we are just trying to find one single show and then one single actor. So I select out the TV Maze API. This one looks to be a single show, so that will work. Single search. Um, person main information. Is there a people search? Where do I go? This one, main information. To the left. This one. Oh, there it is. Okay, people search. Okay, yeah, this will search the actor. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Josh. So both of them are in the search actually. Show, single search, and people search. So that should give you your TV show and actor. Okay, so we'll work on this activity until 8:30, 8:45. I won't announce a formal break, so please, if you want to take a break right now, decide as a group, take the break, work on it, take a break. It's up to you guys, but we'll do it until like 8:30, 8:45. I'll just recap, and then we'll do one more last thing. Then there's homework introduction, and we'll talk about all that stuff later on. Okay, so 8:30, 8:45. We'll be working on this project. All right. Um, this one. Oh, the this one. Okay. Come on, don't use the starter file. Do it on your own. Ethan, stop giving them starter files. Yeah? Too helpful, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I will give you that. It's kind of like but if you watch the demo, you will be able to kind of show you better like how it's supposed to run. Right. So the first thing that you have after the file, file is right now stuff they are looking for show or they So you would be exporting. Wherever you're exporting, like whatever you want to be accessible elsewhere, you have to export from the files. So if you have a file called tv.js where your class is, then you when you make it a class, then you can put methods that are still within the class and outside of it. So if this was just a constructor, then because they're inside of the class. Whereas he's put the API key in the program because and so now the genre and then requiring the file, you can now say TV.
Try it out in genres or
What do you guys? So based on that.
I think that has to be outside. Right. Oh, you know what you could have done? You could have done
I am.
the genres that
It's like the last day of class.
Grade 6 person. And then I think rated network objects. So you don't. Yeah, it does speak in there. It might just be that one. We'll have to try it. The network will be going to HBO.
One thing that I do
Well, what information? Very loud.
but normally when you have
Yeah, it's in there. So it'd be like it might just be that one. Let's try like the different
God or a search a sex function and then you find it like this, right? So, the first kind of things I read about this here. Yeah. This is what I'm just trying to say.
Was it in the?
Class.
What's the show that you did?
You're talking about when you don't need that. After my constructor,
Yeah, I just did that.
that's
Like once a month now.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh.
So this is creating one method on the class. This is signing with the function to a property. Means doing the same thing. But here, class should do it. Should do it.
Yeah. We can check it.
I'm gonna do.
If you put it in quotes, you don't have to.
One second, I see this, and now I have to do this.
So me either, but if I had like multiple words. Really? Might do it. Well, on the bands, I didn't. So I just started doing it.
That's when we create a function. And then you definitely capture it.
Yeah.
Define.
No, bands. No.
You define.
Yeah, bands.
Here you're creating a function.
You did it on
This context. And then you see.
Yeah. So that allows you to not have to.
That'd be
To do quotes.
that returns
Pluses or the band.
oh, okay, an object.
Yeah,
I'm
not sure it's
now has.
Yeah, because I noticed that on yours and I was like, that's what I needed to not have to put it. But then the thing was like, for the if they don't like put anything in, oh, that was the reason why, because I didn't do that. I just used. So I couldn't just go like a node, movie this or whatever. If they just hit enter.
There's a kind of like a parameter where you
So the way,
Well, I think it's in that.
this,
In that
this word, right, versus
I mean, I think they said using a single search
when
method
you
for setting
use
stuff.
your keyword on,
One search
what we're doing is it is creating.
Oh yeah, like you have to show them.
Well, I was sent for where it's gonna be.
So basically you're creating an object. All always known that whenever I use the new keyword,
I understood it though.
it's going to return an object that will have the property that I assign to this instead of yeah. So this thing now object. And now these there'll be some function.
Yeah.
Here. That would return. essentially the same thing. We would if we wanted not to have a quick flow. So that works.
Is it because I just I read it very functional. When you pick it up, it's not easy to pick it up.
What is it?
It's search.
That's literally what
Yeah, that's what I love. So, the responses are now here, what you're doing is animal class constructed. You're finding particle rating, you're finding particle noise, and you're finding particle safety. You're assigning a function to that property. Now, use the word to copy paste this.
that was mine. Remember I told you put the name and see if it works. Well,
Would look like this.
So first we need to.
Better handwriting. That so this dot make one equals some function is the same thing as like the
Although, my better picture. You should.
that would be a method, yeah. Yes. Sometimes.
Does it have to take it apart? So it would be show dot.
I
I get what's
and then you can see like all of your functions.
Show dot search show and then name.
I mean, it's a function that the distinction that whereas a method is a function that is on an object.
Maybe we don't need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Function gives inputs to the outputs.
go into yeah, so what if we do it in if I would on variable that question when we're running the same street using the right word for the right thing, not necessarily it's almost specific word. JavaScript. What if we went like depends on what you mean by better. Yes. No, I mean, yeah, yes. Like I would, if I was going to make like on that class, I would do that. Back to that other book is that you're like those different search things. You move those out.
I saw it, I don't know, it's very confusing on mine what you're typing in. So exactly, but it was saying that you're doing search show
Well, it's always manual.
what's the document show?
But it's not coming.
Oh, I think that's the part that needs to go in. Yeah, we don't really stop. So we need to apply it and get across. Great.
Can you borrow your assistance?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Why not? That's why I give you mini assignments and then I'm like,
You just do your football.
yeah, it's already
Stand up here
over.
too.
All right.
Okay, so we have the TV one working. Okay, we're having some issues with this, but that's not the question. What we really need help with is on our main file. When the user types TV this, it should, in theory, then run this and show all of this information for us.
Okay.
However, what's happening right now is I'm not in my right file. So it runs through it. It says that it's working okay, but all of this is actually coming from here, not from.
And that function TV show is what's coming from the top and bottom of the show.
Okay. So let's see, you have TV show and actor, so you have two different. Alright, so if user says TV this, alright, this is right, okay, and this showed up first because you have it's an async function. So what is TV show?
So that is this.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, so you have TV show which says function something. Okay.
So how do I get it so this data only populates when the user says this?
So where is this data coming from?
So this is coming from here.
Okay, so because you have required over here, right? This thing, then you are saying do this. It says this is right, and then let's see there's something. Oh, did I miss it?
Can you go
Okay, right. So the first thing what is your function are actually outside, kind of like floating somewhere, and this is what I am not sure you guys are trying to do. Okay, so you have a class, right, and then you have a constructor, but your Axios is kind of outside the class. So this kind of defeats the purpose. Everything or any code that you write should be part of the class. Okay, it cannot be like outside like this. Okay, now if I want to make this part of the class, what do I have to do? I have to create a function. To do this, instead of being Axios being lying over here, so what happens is when you do the require, this thing, it goes here,
And automatically
it does, and it starts calling it, right? You see? So we don't want that. And the reason it is because it's outside the class, it just over here, so it will get executed everything. So to stop that, what you have to do is inside your class, create a function, call it, what is it, actor? Is it actor or TV show? So call, create a function. Since this is in the class, you don't actually use functions, you use a TV show. And then inside over here, move the whole Axios thing. Yeah, move the whole Axios code inside this function. Now, from your main, you're going to call this exactly. So you're going to say TV dot get and then TV show. So you have the right required. The only thing is this Axios is kind of outside and it's getting executed every single time. Yeah, it has to be inside a function. And it has to be only called when you're ready to call it. Right now it just gets called every single time because it's outside. Yeah. Move that inside a function.
Inside there.
Well, you don't need the keyword function actually since it's a class.
okay.
You can just do a TV show. Remove the
show with the
yeah.
So this, it's all my function.
Oh, she's good about the parentheses. That's daring.
What do you mean?
You're like removed the whatever he put. He's like I need to have the functions
Was just-
parentheses.
Instead of moving the function into. She
Oh,
just-
it
she
worked.
just-
She got it too.
Well, instead of moving the function into the bracket, she just made the bracket
That's
go all the
how
way.
daring
Bigger.
people do daredevils. That's how they do it. I'm like looking at him. Oh my god, will that work? Okay, so now everything is inside over here.
Yep.
Okay, now go back to your main.
This one.
Yeah. So over here, you're going to do is well. Let's fix it. So you're going to say TV
Oh,
show
yeah.
dot TV show dot, and you will see that function name pop up. What did we call it? It's not there. Go back here. Well, hold on. It should automatically pop up.
Maybe like call show or something, so it sounds like tweeting.
Yeah, we can change it, but I want to see.
Is it because I have a colon? Does that matter?
Oh no, that's fine. So this is your constructor. That's good, and then you should be seeing. So, yeah. So, actually. Okay. We can change the name, but the only thing it should. This tells me that something is missing. That's
So
fine.
does this need to be the same somewhere? Because module.experts equals TV shows.
Yeah, and this is the same name as this. These
That's
Oh,
two
what
are
that does.
missing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. So this is good.
Okay.
And then you have the right syntax TV show. This is all good. There's no parentheses missing. Right. Let's see. What am I missing? You be required, or it's called TV, right? Or search TV. Okay. So this comes over here, and then. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this name and then put it over there and see. Hopefully that works. If it doesn't, we'll come back and see. It should, and it's a function, so you need parentheses. Okay, let's see if this runs. It should just be a function and pass to. Okay. Right. So it says.
It doesn't like that.
Go back to your TV. Is it TV show? Right. So that's what I'm. It's giving the right error. There's something is not right. What is not
Here. Is it something in here?
right? That's what I'm not trying to. Oh, do you have a? No, that's fine. Module.export. TV show. What am I missing?
Just like the object itself.
Right, so that object doesn't have that function. It should show up here. Right, this should.
And it wouldn't be something that's inside the original.
Inside here.
Let's see. So you have a constructor. You're passing something. Doesn't matter. Oh, okay. So you have a constructor that is expecting the show, right? So expecting variables. So if you go back over here, on your class. So you have to, when you do oh, there's no new. You have to do a new, right?
Oh,
So
but I
since
have
this
my
is a
new in
class,
here.
oh, where? Oh, no. This new has to be
Somewhere else?
outside. Whoever is calling. So you have your main, right? In your main, you are doing TV shows is equal to required, right? So this you have to say is you have to create a new variable. Let's call it TS, and this is going to be new, and then
TV show.
whatever the required is. Yeah, you have to TV show, and then you have to pass in something because you have a constructor that is expecting something, and then you will do TS dot, and it will show you that function. Whatever that function. So let's go back and fix it. So you're missing a
Okay.
new keyword over here.
So then, what would happen? Like, what do I put in here? Anything?
Um, so you're calling Axios, you'll get the response, and you are console logging. Yeah, this is good.
Okay. So the only thing that I just need to remove is this.
Right. So let's go back here. So you have a TV show required. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So now after over here you would do a let and create another variable.
What would we call it? TS.
Yeah. Okay. New TV show. Okay.
Which is
there
the
it
same
is.
as that,
Yes.
right?
Yep. It shows up.
Okay.
And then parentheses. You see, it's asking something. It's asking for a show. Do you have that variable?
We have.
Or you can pass in an empty string right now. It won't just do anything.
Well. Okay. And then we do TS
Yes. Dot. And then the
call TV show
right. But you want to do that in your if statement.
down here.
Okay.
And we want a console login, right?
Is that actually returning anything? Just do this. Yeah, don't console log. Go back to console log inside this function. So go back to your tv.js. Yeah. So you're going to call this if it is successful. Um, just console log response.data for now, so that we can see what's coming back. Okay. Let's see what else is there. Okay. Okay. Sure. So it doesn't like this thing in your constructor. Go back to your constructor. So it doesn't like all of this. So just comment this. You probably don't even comment all of them, and remove the show from there too. You don't need. Yeah. Go back to your CLI and then just remove the backticks. No, okay. So remove this. Yeah, just do an empty. Yeah, now try. Okay, there you go.
Cool. Okay. So now we're getting all of the data again.
Yes. So you will go back over here now, your TV, and then fix it over here. Go down. So now you're getting everything. Whatever you want extracted out over here, you will do response dot data 0 dot whatever.
In
And
here.
yeah, everything will be here. Yes, it has to be
Okay.
here. Why? Because this is where you have the data.
So then what's the point in having the class?
Yeah. So in the class you have one constructor, one function, and then you're doing everything. Yeah.
But what would be in my constructor?
Right now it's empty. You don't really the way you have coded it out. You actually don't need the constructor.
I don't even need that. I just kind of need this
Yes.
class that has a function inside of it.
Yes.
But then do I have to have constructor or can I delete it?
Just
Empty state it?
keep an empty constructor. Yeah,
Okay.
in case you need it at some point. I mean, right now you don't need it, but keep it over there as an empty constructor,
Okay.
and then have those functions. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Any questions?
Make sense?
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so Yeah. Yes, exactly.
No, but it's still
So that's what we told it. So that's right. But then at the bottom, we're not creating variable for it. So it's not. Yes. Yeah, because I was trying to look back at and then it comes very Yeah, we're watching Ethan because we were trying to. It kept returning our functions and this one is mine. Trying to log it here. Look, we weren't adding to it. We were getting this part. So we're trying to get our axios. We already erased what we had, but
Even though it's
basically we're missing this.
without the new.
Yeah.
These are-
Yeah.
That's
So
not very
you can't
good.
return it, but define it if you can't find it.
Right. And the hint is when I type in the name and do a dot, it should show up. If it never shows up, it just means that's what the that's how I go by. I'm like, well, Visual Studio is smart enough to tell me that this exists. If it's not showing, this means I'm doing something wrong. That's how I go by.
I was looking back at some of these images and I saw all that. And I was like, maybe, and then I come back from the bathroom and but yeah, so it works basically. So do we just need to push it into it, right?
See, I was, but then it wasn't working.
Like, you use console.
He didn't know what.
In there? Yeah, that's what I was telling you. I was saying it's a brain cell. No, you're right. I've gone to those burgers. Good. Oh, that's good.
So now, all of these things.
Same thing. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
You can just pass.
All right, are we coming to close? Need a few more minutes. You guys done?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Nice.
I think it is trying to pull together.
Okay. At least one group is done. You guys done?
We're just trying to talk about it.
Okay.
And then I think
Okay. Yeah, and the sponsor data has already designed here in water. So we're on top of that and say, right, so you got it.
Makes it a new line.
Yeah.
What is it? Okay. Okay. So there's your one. Where one? Yeah, he has written what up. This is like
Well, I don't think it was doing that. So, that back.
if you look at the TV game, this is a different URL, a different access call, and this is a different call. This is the people search, and this is for the
Yeah.
one is going to get you show, which is a different URL, one is going to get an activity, which is a different from the same API, but a different URL. The one that you have should give you on the same API. But TV show there's a different URL.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's necessary.
Will Smith.
All right. Let me quickly recap, and I will show you what solution I have. Um, Now the stock solution that will be posted, what I will push is a little bit different. They're using constructor functions, but I did it in the class format. So I'll quickly recap so that, and if you have any questions, let me know. So according to the architecture diagram that I had over here, which I showed you earlier, so I have two files, CLI and TV. Okay, so CLI is my main file. Um, in my CLI file, I only have inquirer details. Okay, this is the prompt that asks the question, do you want to search for a TV show or an actor? Okay, um, I'll come back to the importing part. I'm importing my class TV, and then I'm instantiating, I'm creating an object of TV. Okay, so in my inquirer, I have two questions. The first is are you trying to search for a show and actor? So this kind of shows you like the two choices, just like the zombie game. Okay, based on what you select and then what you enter. If you say show, then you enter the name of the show. If you say actor, then you enter the name of the actor. Okay, so two questions, and then based on the answers, if I say if the user selected show is going to call find show method, and if the user selected the different one, which is actor, is going to show find actor method. Okay, and in both of these I'm passing whatever, if it's a show, if the show that you are trying to search, or the name of the actor that you're trying to search. Okay, this is all I have in my CLI JavaScript file. Okay, I have my class TV. From this file, you can tell that my class TV has two functions: find show and find actor. That's all it has. Okay, it's an empty constructor because I'm not passing anything, so it's an empty constructor. Okay, now if we move on to our to my TV class. Okay, I'm using Axios and FS module for writing to the file. My TV class has a constructor which is empty. Usually, well, I haven't used this in JavaScript a lot, constructor and classes. But when I'm coding in a different language, such as C# or Java, usually a constructor is always there. Even though right now it's empty, I just like to keep it. You know, in future somebody else is modifying my program, there might be a use that somebody is going to put a constructor, so it's already there. Okay, so right now there's no use of this constructor because it's empty, so I'm just keeping the constructor over here. And then this class has two functions, find show and find actor. You will pass in the show, for example, over here in my then function, right? You'll pass in the term, and this will go ahead and call Axios, and then console log it, and then also save in the file. Okay, so the find show method, you get the show name, API, pass in the show name, Axios, call it, it gets you the data back, and then you just parse in the data and kind of make a string out of it. Okay, so show, genre, rating, network, summary, whatever the data was required. You create the data, and then console log it, and also go ahead and put it in the file. Okay, so we are using the append file method because it's going to keep adding new searches to the same file. So I'm going to have like multiple searches in my file. Okay, so that's why you're using the append one. If you're using the write, it's going to keep overwriting the previous one, so you will never get the new data. Okay, so axios.get the data. When I have all the data, go ahead and append it to the file, and then also console log so that we can see on the screen as well. Okay, find actor, exactly the same thing. The only thing that is changing is basically your URL. It's people search versus single search. Okay, any questions? No questions? Other file. Okay. Oops. Why you're using class? So you see my main, if I show you this one, on a quick overview, you can tell what I'm trying to do. I have object, and then I'm just calling some questions, and I'm then calling those two functions. Kind of simplifies. You don't have to dig into the class to find out what it is doing. You can tell from over here, oh, this is going to go and find a show for me, and this is going to go and find an actor for me, and that's it. The only purpose of a class is that it is modularizing or kind of making your code look pretty. That's all. Yes. Can I do this all in one file? You can do it everything in the same file. The same with the JavaScript, right? On the front end, you can do all 1,000, 10,000 lines of code in one JavaScript file and be done, right? But why do you divide it into a JavaScript into multiple files? So that your code is broken down and it is easier to debug when there's a problem. That's why these things help. Otherwise, yes, you can do the exact same thing in one file and be done with it and it will work. So how have you been using the classes? What do you mean? Uh-huh. Oh, I see. Okay. Right, right. Oh, okay, okay. I see. That's a no. That's a yeah. That's a really good. I see what you mean. Since we are not creating multiple objects, kind of coming out because everything to me is a class and an object. So that's why I'm kind of more inclined to do this way. But I see your point that we've been studying. If you want to create multiple objects, you would need a class that will help you do it. In this case, yeah, we only have one object, so you don't actually need it. I see your point. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that clarifies it. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Again, yes, you can totally do this. You can write a single function. You don't even need a class. You can do a function and export that function out and just call that function over here. That will also work. Create just two basic functions, export them. A project, this is, you might come across kind of a similar syntax in division. Okay? Yes, I have not seen anybody writing JavaScript code like this. Again, it's a fairly new. The class one is actually fairly new. That they did not have the class keyword until the new version that we are using. So this is a relatively new. So maybe down the road you will see more of the code. But since this is relatively new, that's one of the reasons I haven't seen people using this a lot, right? And I don't want to say disadvantage, but the drawback of using the latest JavaScript is it only runs on certain browsers. What I mean by that is like Chrome, I don't know what version, let's say 50, version number 50 and above. So the new version of JavaScript runs only if your website renders on Chrome version 50 and above. If somebody opens your website in version 50 and below and you're using classes, it will break because at that point the older version of JavaScript does not understand the keyword class. So a lot of people, depending on the audience, if there's an audience that they expect that they're going to be opening their website on Microsoft Edge or the older version of IE, Safari or something that does not support, so people kind of try to avoid those things. So unless JavaScript new version is everywhere and it's 100% covered, people are kind of hesitant to use any new syntax. Okay, but in React, you will see this a lot in React. React actually uses this syntax a lot. Okay, so it'll be easier for us to understand when we get to React since you're kind of exposed to this syntax. You will know, okay, what is going on. React uses it a lot, but what React does is when React runs on your browser, it basically takes all this, converts it into an older version of JavaScript, and then runs it. So that's why React is like will run everywhere, but they kind of use the syntax. The only way I've seen class is in React. Actually, I have not seen anybody else using it. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. So I have one more activity. We still have a lot of time, so we'll do one more activity, and then Ethan will introduce the homework, and then oh Chester, oh. And then Ethan or somebody will go over the quiz, the checkpoint, if you guys are interested. All right. All right. So this we're kind of going back to our kind of callback, and the reason I want to see is because on Saturday I'll go over. We'll be starting databases. We'll be stopping for a while, not completely, but we'll be looking at databases. And once we look at the database, MySQL, when we come back to Node.js, we'll be going back to callbacks and everything. So I just want to have a refresh. Everybody kind of refresh their memories about callbacks and make sure we understand how to use them. Remember, before project one, we were using callbacks, and I said that at some point we will be creating functions with callbacks. So this is the time. This is the reason is when you are doing backend, you need to at sometimes you need to create callback functions, right? Until this point, we've been using callback functions. Now I want to show you, make sure we understand how do you create a callback function. Okay. All right. So just pay attention to some of all of this, and we're going to write some code for each one of them. Okay, so the first one is write a function that logs a message, then executes a function argument. Okay, it's not as complicated as it sounds, like. Okay, so the first thing is, and I'll kind of solve the first one. The next few ones we'll do it together. We will do this one together also. So the first thing, I have to write a function. Okay, so how do I break this down? I have to write a function. So I'm going to create a function, and it looks like I'm going to log a message. So I'm going to create call this function log message. Okay, all right, write a function, and then that logs a message, and then executes a function argument. Okay, so the first thing it does, it logs a message. What do I have to do for this part? Okay, and console log what? Message. Okay, looks like it's a variable. Where am I getting this from? No, not callback function. This is just a simple variable. You can pass it, right? What is it? From anywhere. The point was I was saying is that I'm going to, when you call my function, I'm going to pass this message. Okay, I'm going to pass this in, and whatever is passed in, I'm going to go ahead and console log that. Okay, for example, how do I call this function? I'm going to say log message. This is a message. Okay, so what's going to happen? Oh no, not console log my function. Console log message. This is a message. Okay, what is going to happen is going to call my function. It's going to pass the string and log that. Does everybody understand? Simple, pretty straightforward. Now, the catch is the next line. What does it say? Then execute a function argument. What is an argument? Not the one that you guys were having in your projects. I mean, when you come to the coding part. What is an argument over here? What do you pass in your function? So I need to pass another argument. So comma, space. What type of argument is that? It's a function. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pass in, I'm going to call it func. Okay. Again, at this point, JavaScript does not differentiate between this and this. It has no idea which one is a function, which one is a string. Okay. But we know that this is going to be a string and this is going to be a function. Okay. Now what does it say? Execute a function argument. So once I have logged this, how do I execute the function that is being passed to me? Okay. So write a function that logs a message. This is logging a message, and then executes a function argument. So the second argument is going to be a function, and then what it does is it goes ahead and executes this function. What is this function? What does it do? I have no idea. and I don't, I'm going to execute that function. Okay, now how do I call this? Log message string, and my second argument has to be a function, right? I can do an anonymous function. Will this work? Let's test it out. This will be log after first message. Okay, does this look familiar, this part? Huh? It's like jQuery. What else is it like? Huh? A function, but what kind of a function? Yes, thank you. So this is the callback. Do you guys see it? This is a callback function. Why? This is a mess function. You're passing another function inside it. So this one becomes a callback function, right? So what happens behind the scenes? It calls this one, right? It logs the message, and then whatever function that you're passing in is going to go ahead and execute. And what is a function? It does this thing. It goes ahead and logs this message, right? So the first thing this will do is this will go inside this over here, come over here, message is going to print this message, and then it's going to call whatever function that you have passed. What is the function that you are passing? This thing. So it's going to go ahead and execute this function. Okay, so in the output you will see this is a message, and then this will be logged after the message. Okay, this is a message, and this will be logged after the first message. Okay, now what I was saying is until project 1 we have only seen how do we call a callback function, but behind the scene this is how you write a callback function. Okay, all right, any questions before we proceed? We still have like 3 more to do. This is probably the easiest one. Okay, all right, let's look at the second one. Too many spaces. Okay, what do you think? Write a function that runs a function argument if its other argument is truthy. Basically it's a boolean. How would I go about this one? Write a function that runs a function argument, kind of similar to the previous one. So we are passing another function as an argument if its other argument is truthy. Okay, so this means I have 2 arguments. So I'm going to create a function with 2 arguments to start with. Okay, one is going to be a function and one is going to be a boolean. Okay, so let's create a function and say run if. This is my function name. Okay, how many arguments? 2 arguments, right? So the first, we'll switch it around. I like to keep my callbacks at the end. So I'm going to say let's call it bool condition. I don't know what to call it, bool value. Okay, so this is this one. If it's true, it's going to do something. And my second argument is going to be a function, so I'm just going to do func. Okay, so write a function. We'll come back to this part. Basically, my function is going to take 2 arguments. One is going to be another function, and one is going to be basically looks like a boolean value, and I can tell that by this statement over here. Okay, it's going to be true and false. Okay, now what is it saying? Runs a function argument if the argument is true. So if bool value, right, this says if bool value is true, What am I going to do? I'm going to run a function that I'm passing in. So I'm going to say if this is false, it's not going to do anything. You guys see it? Any questions? Yes. Yeah, you can do a else and return, but at this point, it says if it is true, then just do this. Otherwise, don't worry about it. But yes, you can do it if the requirement is. Right now, my requirement is only this part, so that's why I'm not putting an else. Regina, did you have a question? Okay. So if I have this definition, how do I call this function? I'm going to say run if my first, let's pass in true. Okay, and then I have to pass in a function. So we'll use our anonymous function syntax, right? And what does this function do? Let's just go console log. This will be printed only if bool value is true. Okay, so if I run that's the anonymous function, right? This is the function that I created, and I need to pass in a function. Remember, how do you call the callback function? This now becomes a function that is expecting a callback function. Again, what is the definition of a callback function? A function that is being passed inside another function, right? So either you can use the anonymous callback function syntax that we've been looking at when we do the Axios, Ajax, and all, or you can actually put a name to it. It's up to you. Yes. You can put in a predefined. That's a really good. Yeah, you can put in a pre. It all the criteria is it has to be a function. Yes. Okay, a function with no arguments. So if I run this, it is going to print the last line. This will be printed only if the bool value is true, and am I passing it true? If I pass it false, it should not print anything now. Oops. Okay. It stopped from the first function. There's no message because it's not true. Yes. Any function. If it is part of Node.js, if you can call that function over here, can you call an event function? Right. So you can. So any function that is available to you in this environment in Node.js. It could be a Node.js function. It could be if Node.js, let's suppose, have a event function that is global. You can put it over here. Yes. It doesn't matter. It just has to be a function. Any function. Yes. Yes. Yes, you can do it with a function that takes an argument, but it won't do anything. Because the way I have defined it, I'm saying I'm expecting send me a function and do something over here. If you pass in an argument, then you have to put something over here. If you say, let's say message, okay? So over here, you'll have to do function message. Okay, you'll have to call it something. Well, you can't do message, you'll have to do a string message or something. Right? Since I'm not passing anything over here, and in my definition, I'm calling it empty, like this. So it has to be empty. Now, if I pass something in, it doesn't do anything. This will be ignored. Why? Because I'm calling the function without any arguments over here. That's why. So that's why I was saying I need a function that does not take any argument, because that's what my definition is expecting. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, this is JavaScript, yeah. Yes. Yeah. 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 Yes. Okay. Yeah. You can use it in JavaScript. Let's do this one. Write a function that accepts a function argument and a value Oh, this is tricky. All right. Write a function that accepts a function argument and a value. So at this point, we understand. Do you guys understand? Forget about this. The first over until comma. See, write a function that accepts a function argument and a value. It's kind of similar to the message one. Function argument and a value. Anything. Okay? All right, so let's start with the thing until the comma. So function, let's say, let's call it foo. Okay, so it takes in an argument. So let's say value and then a function argument. Okay, and that's it. That's the definition. Now the second part says returns a function that returns the result of executing the function argument with a value. All right, so let's stop over here. Returns a function. So I need a return statement. Okay, and it returns a function. So let's say, let's create a function. Does this qualify until over here? So I wrote a function that accepts a function argument, there is one, and a value, there's the value, and returns a function, and it's returning a function. Okay, so far so good? Okay, now what does this function do? That returns the result. Okay, so it is returning something, so I need a return statement. Returns the result of executing the function argument, which is this one. So it is going to return, basically call this function with the value. Okay, so it is expecting this thing. Okay, let's do this part again. So write a function that accepts a function argument. Write a function accepts argument, two arguments. One would be value, one would be function. Okay. Now it returns a function. So a function is returning another function. So I did a return, and I said, okay, it's going to return a function. Okay. Now what does that function do? That function in turn returns again. So I do a return. Okay, and what does that function return? Returns the result of executing the function argument, which is this one. So I am going to call function. Okay, returns the result of executing the function argument with the value. So basically you are passing in value, which is coming from over here. Okay, so basically what it does is eventually when you call this function, you are going to get a function back, which is in turn calling this function. Okay, now is there a practical use case? Probably not, right? Then why is the reason this is over here? People love to ask tricky questions in interviews, right? So don't be surprised if somebody kind of is saying, how would you code this? The reason I want to show you this is how do we break this down. So don't panic, break it down. Start from the top. You say, okay, write a function that accepts a function argument and a value. Stop over here, define the function. That's all you do. Okay, so you get 1 point for that. Then returns a function. Stop over here, just do a returns a function. All right, you get the second point. Now after that, if you're able to do it, not do it, you already scored like 2 out of 3 points. All right, that returns the result of executing the function argument. What is a function argument? This thing. So you're going to return this, and you're going to pass in the value. So you will pass in this value. Okay, it's confusing. I know. The point is, do you guys see how to break the problem into multiple parts? Start solving the first one, stop, then look at the second one, stop, then look at the third one. Okay, again, if you are able to do until over here, you already got like 2 points out of 3 if this was like 3 points worth of question. Okay, going back, these are more important, and we'll be kind of using this when we get to some point later, some point in our not at databases, maybe like after database, but we'll be using a lot of callbacks in when we get to the database part, right? When we connect our database with Node.js. Okay. The last one is should be familiar. I just want to make sure everybody understand the fs.write file. It's an async method. It takes in a callback function, right? We just used it um, in our activity just before this, right? You guys did fs.append file or write file, um, write file, and it takes in a path, right? Let's say log txt. The second is data, so whatever something. Okay, and the last one was, oops, what is this? A function. But don't call it a function. What do we call it? A callback function. Okay, so we've been using these callback functions a lot, and this is how JavaScript is actually used a lot. Okay, JavaScript or Node.js, it doesn't matter. Okay, so again, when we get to more, when we are using any libraries, we saw Axios uses callback. We saw Inquirer that uses callback, right? The then function. We saw FileStream, the FS module that also uses callbacks. All of the library, most of the libraries are always going to be using callback functions. There is no escape from callbacks in JavaScript. Okay, so if you need practice, please go over it. Make sure you understand. So what else was I going to say? Those are the activities, and Chester will go over the homework. The homework is optional. I don't know why it's optional. It uses constructors. Again, if you don't submit it, it's okay. It's a good practice. What I would recommend is if you give it a try, it's good practice. You have learned something the whole week. Might as well try it. If you are not going to work at the homework, you're gonna. This is optional. I'm not going to work it. I would highly recommend going back to the homeworks that you have already done. Maybe you scored a low grade on that. Please, this is a chance. You have a whole week. Maybe go back and fix them and get a better grade. So pick one. If you already have good grades on previous one, then give this a try. Yes.
I just had a question about the homework. So, like, say I went to go work on like the RPG game. Do I have to use like the basic vanilla JavaScript that we learned up to that point, or can I use like whatever now to fix that code, or do you want me to run it?
Right. So yeah, it's always tricky. Like when you learn new stuff, you kind of go back and be like, oh, can I fix it? I would still recommend, because the purpose of that homework was to kind of in that framework you understand what's going on. Um, that's what I would say. Again, what about the TAs? Do they have?
Yeah, I think when you're going back through and doing an assignment, kind of follow the directions that they were laid out. But that said, I do think it's a great idea to go back and redo homework assignments at some point with the new stuff. Whether it's after the course is done as a way to like keep everything refreshed, go back to refactor, create bigger and better, build them out. There's a framework there for like an activity, but change it up and keep it up.
Yeah.
Because the thing right now, like if you go out and you can look at it on GitHub, I'm sure you guys have seen, like of all the people who've gone through this boot camp, everybody's made a name, and everybody's, so it's like if you want to stand out, you kind of got to make it your own and up it a little bit. So, but yeah, for the purpose of going back and getting regraded, I would say follow the kind of instructions as they're laid out.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, so on Saturday we'll be, as I said, we'll be starting on databases. Very important part of being a full stack developer. I'm going to be posting instructions to install some of the softwares. You might have or you might not have installed those as a part of pre-work. I'm not sure, but I'm going to be posting instructions tomorrow. Highly recommended. Follow the instructions, install those softwares. There will be some time dedicated, but the class kind of goes faster if you have the prerequisite already installed. Okay, but I do plan to give some time to make sure everybody has those things installed, a little bit to run it, because if you're not, then it's not going to make sense. Okay, but I'm going to be posting it. I'll try to do it tomorrow. Take a look at the instructions. They're pretty clear. I have followed the instructions on my Mac, and I have been able to successfully install the same softwares. Windows, in my previous cohort, people have done it. They're pretty accurate. Okay. So that will be Saturday. So we'll be starting MySQL. All right. All right. So optional homework time. And then if you guys are interested